Hello, my friend. Thank you so much for joining me. I'm Kari, and this is the Luminous Recovery Yoga podcast, episode 12. Wow, I believe that makes it a whole quarter of doing this podcast every week. 12 weeks feels like a real accomplishment of sorts. Consistency and discipline, just continuing to move forward, and it's really nice to have something to show for time. So thank you so much for joining me. For those of you who listen week after week, it's truly an honor to share this space with you, where I get to share my experience, strength, and hope in recovery, and in how that really also crosses with my yoga practice, which is very near and dear to my life. And I just want to say really quickly before we get going here, if you've never joined me for a Yoga of 12-Step Recovery meeting, you have my open and dearest invitation to join. It's every Thursday evening, 6 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. It's a 90-minute meeting/class. So the first 45 minutes, I share on a topic, and then I open that up to the group for sharing. You can share on the topic or whatever is on your heart and mind that week. And it's open and inclusive to all recovery groups. If you're not in recovery, that's okay too. If you're recovery curious, if you're in any type of 12-step group, it's just open. So after the sharing, we move into a 45-minute yoga practice that is based on the topic that we all shared on. And it just kind of creates a new way to explore the topic in the body. I find that sometimes recovery topics can be really thought-provoking, but then I have to learn how to apply those into my everyday life. And so I find that the yoga mat is a really great place for me to explore different thoughtful concepts. It helps me to embody those concepts. And so it's just kind of an interesting way to try a topic on in the body. And that actually might not feel like it makes any sense until you try it. And then you're like, oh, okay, I see how this kind of applies to the practice, right? Because I really see recovery and yoga as the root of practice. It's not about perfection. We're not going to the recovery or yoga Olympics. There's really nowhere to go other than to continue to show up time after time, moment to moment, point to point, and to continue the practice. It's just really being in the practice of recovery and the practice of yoga. And if you're not in either of those, you just have my most open invitation to begin again, to begin anew, to begin fresh today. Whatever it is that needs to happen, you have my full support, and I would just love to share that space with you. So there's a link in the description. If you're on YouTube, if you're listening to this on a podcast, it'll be in the show notes, and you can sign up and take that class. It's free. And just show up and see what happens. You don't even have to share. You could just listen. A lot can be accomplished when we listen to the stories and lives of other people, the experience, strength, and hope of our fellow human beings, and just see what, naturally arises for you. So with that being said, let's jump into the podcast for today, the episode. And I'm really happy. I'm feeling happy today, which is good. And it's really good because I've had real moments, let's say in the last 12 episodes, of not being very happy, or of feeling grief, or feeling sadness, or confusion, all of the different, range of feelings, emotions, experiences. And so when I have a day that I feel happy, it feels like I've come through stuff, right? Like I didn't wake up like this per se. It takes practice. It takes showing up each day and trying new things, doing new things. And that leads me into my topic for today, which is doing the next right thing. Now, if you've ever taken a yoga class with me lately in the last, year or so, you'll know that this is something I bring to class very often. I say to students, do the next right thing. And this is something that I first discovered in my recovery practice. It's something I heard in the rooms of recovery. People would talk about doing the next right thing. And there was definitely a time when that didn't make any sense to me. Like, what do you mean do the next right thing? But what I've learned is that I am only responsible for doing the next right thing. And sometimes when, like on a day today when I'm feeling good, that could seem like a really easy task. All right, do the next right thing. Make this podcast episode, right? Or teach the class or do the thing. But there are some days when it's like pulling teeth, when things just aren't flowing, or I'm in a mood, or there's something hanging over my head. And really what I want to do are the next 5 to 15 things. And maybe I'm tired. Maybe I'm having a halt, a hungry, angry, lonely, tired. And really, it's days like that when doing the next right thing becomes survival. It becomes really important to getting through the day moment to moment to moment. Some days go by like a breeze. And then other days, I really need to focus on the next right thing until really the next right thing becomes go to bed and start over tomorrow, right? So doing the next right thing has been really important to my recovery. It's really taught me sort of that adage of one day at a time, but not just one day at a time, because sometimes one day at a time could be terrifying. Like sometimes I look at a day and I'm like, oh my gosh, there's so much to do, or there's so many different things to think about, or I've got all of these worries on my heart and on my mind. And that could really clog me up. That can really halt the process. And when I remember to do the next right thing, that's when I'm able to just focus on the moment to moment, the point to point. So this recovery concept of doing the next right thing really solidified for me on the yoga mat. And whether it's working through injury or working through just, being in a particular mood or, kind of emotional weather pattern for the day, it really becomes important on the mat to practice moment to moment to moment, point to point to point, pose to pose to pose. And I can remember early on in my yoga practice days when I first started practicing yoga, and I always knew that towards the end of the practice, we would do wheel pose, or we would do bridge pose, or like some big pose that was really challenging. And I could tell you that the moment I started practice, like, all right, teacher says child's pose, and I'm right there beginning practice, I was already concerned about what was going to happen towards the end, or what was going to happen once the class got moving and the energy was moving, and I knew that I would get hot and it would get harder. And sometimes I couldn't even focus on that first opening pose because I was so concerned about 20 poses from now. And that's just really a metaphor for me. If you've listened to my podcast before, or you've been in class with me, you know that you've heard me say that the pose is really a metaphor for life. And I really believe that. I really see who I am in the pose as sort of a snapshot, a moment of how I am being in the world. And so the fact that I was worrying in child's pose at the beginning of the practice about what was going to happen 45 minutes from that moment really does show how I am. And it really is true to, sometimes that state of being where I just can't seem to get present. I'm worried about everything else. I'm worried about the next 5 years of my life, the next 10 years of my life. How will things work later on in life? When really all I need to worry about is this pose. And I don't even need to worry, right? Like worry seems heavy too, just being in the experience of it. And I think that that's what doing the next right thing has really helped me to unpack, which is doing what I need to do right now. And then this moment will reveal the next moment. My sponsor always says, more will be revealed. And that's something that you'll hear said in the recovery rooms. More will be revealed. And I can tell you that could sometimes skyrocket my anxiety. I'm like, I don't want more to be revealed. I want to know everything I need to know right now. And that's just not life. Life is not knowing everything that I need to know right now. Life is moment to moment to moment. And when I can do the right thing for right now, I am more able to see life in its unfolding. And then when the tide changes or things start to move in a different direction, I'm ready and able and willing to move with it. But if I'm so wrapped up in what's going to happen 5 to 10 moves from now, then I'm much less likely to be available to what the next right thing is. And that is just really expanded my consciousness. It's expanded my experience of being in a body, is that if I can get present right now, I am actually more available to what will happen next. And that goes for my yoga practice too. There are days when I'm on the mat and, maybe I start the practice feeling kind of stiff or sore or just even in a mood of some sort. Maybe I'm not really in the mood to do it. And if I can just ground myself in the right now, in this moment, then it gives more opportunity for the practice to unfold. So that if I'm moving moment to moment to moment, point to point to point, then by the time something else is happening, I might be ready for it. And maybe I'm not ready for it right now because it's actually not the appropriate energy of the moment. Like, why be ready for wheel pose when I'm in child's pose? It's just not the energy of the moment. Of course I'm not ready. My body's not ready. My mind isn't ready. Physically, I'm not prepared to take such a big, opening, expansive pose. I haven't done any of the warming up. And I think that that's really an important piece to recovering, is that I want to know what's going to happen in the end, but really I haven't even warmed up yet. Like, I'm not even per se the person who is ready for that thing. Like, if it's moment to moment, who I am in this moment creates what I'm ready for in the next moment. And if I'm not available to this moment, then it's possible I won't be in that becoming of how I get to that other point. Like, there are things that have happened in my life that I am certain I didn't have the skill set to do 10 years ago. And so 10 years ago, if I wanted to know who I would be today, I'm telling you, I wouldn't have believed you. Like, there's just no way. Like, I grew up really frightened of physical movement. And that came from, being an overweight kid, having a really hard time in gym class my whole life. I can tell you that I was scrutinized by gym teachers my whole young adult life. And if you would have told me 10 years ago that I would be a yoga teacher today, like, I can't even, I would have kicked you in the shin and ran. Like, there's just no way I would have even believed you. Like, what? I don't even want to walk to the corner. What are you telling me? I'm going to be basically a physical fitness instructor? Like, no way, no way. And so it's so amazing to sit where I am today and know that I couldn't have even fathomed the life that I live right now. And yet there was definitely a time 10 years ago when I wanted to know everything that would have unfolded. But the truth is, I don't know that I would have been ready for that truth. And so it's really fascinating to be where I am right now and to try to apply that same principle, because I can definitely tell you that sitting where I am right now, I definitely want to know what the next 10 years is going to look like. I definitely want to know how my life is going to be in the unfolding. And it's possible I wouldn't even believe it. Like, I wouldn't even recognize myself, right? Or maybe what it is that is going to be in the becoming, it's just not who I am today. But as long as I continue to be committed to the next right thing, then that can unfold as it is meant to unfold. And so this is something that has become really important to me in the practice. When I'm practicing my yoga practice, I work to practice next right thing, because next right thing, as I've said, who I am on the mat is how I am in the world. And how I really like the idea that how you do anything is how you do everything. That really works for me. It makes a lot of sense to me. And so when I'm on the mat and I can practice doing the next right thing, it's sort of that somatic bodily experience of just practicing what it means to do the next right thing moment to moment to moment. And then when I'm living in my life and I'm out here in the world, it doesn't seem like such a big deal to just do the next right thing, because I practice that. And then that's really how I get into that behavior and that pattern of just, okay, do the next right thing. Don't worry about the next 5 right things. Just do the next right thing. Put the next foot in front of the other foot. And sometimes when I'm really in that next right thing state of mind, the way life unfolds is magnificent. And it's nothing I could have ever really, like I said, prepared myself for. So I find that the more present I can be to this moment, the next moment really could be something I couldn't have even imagined. So I love being in the practice of doing the next right thing. And it's so funny because since I have started really teaching this in yoga class, I can't tell you how many students have said it back to me. Like maybe I'm talking to them before class or I'm telling them something that's happening in my personal life and I'll be like, oh, I don't know what to do. And they're like, just do the next right thing. And I'm like, oh gosh, like that is so cool. You know, like on the one hand, I'm like, ugh, oh, you're right. Okay, take my own advice, right? But on the other hand, it is so incredible to be a teacher and to have your students feed you back the lesson. And that's honestly, I think, what keeps me coming back to teaching as a profession is that I love students and I love being a student. And so being a student with other students is really just the way that I think we keep that learning cycle going. And I often say that the only reason I teach is because I'm a dedicated student, that my studentship is what qualifies me to be a teacher. And so I really love this opportunity to share recovery and yoga and wisdom with students and then have the students feed that back to me. It's honestly so special. So doing the next right thing, that's really what I've been thinking about today and how that applies to not only the practice of recovering. And, you know, I want to talk a little more about that. When I say recovery, you know, what do I mean by that? What does recovery mean? And to me, what it means is calling my spirit back. It's calling my spirit back from all of the places where I sort of left or abandoned myself. And I can definitely tell you that I left or abandoned myself in the ideal of the future or the regret of the past, you know, where it's like, oh, I wish that would have been different, or how can I make my life be different for the next 5 to 10 years? And it's like, I just don't get to know. And if I obsess or I get really wrapped up in that idea of the past and the future, I am definitely not available to the present moment. And things that I've learned about the power of the present moment is that, one, I meet God in the present moment. Higher power, whatever you call that magnificent, greater spirit, creator, that thing that's bigger than you. If I'm not available to the present moment, I am not available to a power greater than me. If I'm not in the present moment, I'm not available to the power and majesty of my breath. And my breath is a physical anchor to connecting with the present moment. When I connect with my breath, I am in the physical presence of the moment because breath is real, breath is physical, and breath only happens right now. Breath doesn't happen in the past, breath doesn't happen in the future. Same thing with the higher power. That power greater than me, that, you know, that sense of divine download or like having inspiration in the moment, that doesn't happen in the past. It doesn't happen in the future. It only happens when I'm available right now. And the way I get available right now is by physically embodying myself, getting into my breath, being in the practice of living. And when I'm in the practice of living, I'm doing the next right thing. And I'm not concerned about everything that comes before and after because I'm right here. And I am not trying to sound like I am an expert at life. This is just something that I have discovered for myself. And I'm sharing it with you, that the more I can focus on doing the next right thing, the more available I am to what's happening right now and then watching life unfold in a magical way. But if I'm too concerned with the future and I'm too concerned about what's already happened, then I'm in my obsessive, crazy, stinking thinking, circular thinking, obsessive thinking. And when my mind really wanders and gets away from me, I am definitely not right here. I am somewhere else completely. And in that somewhere else completely space, I'm not available for the magical unfolding of life. So that's what I offer you today. Do the next right thing. And how does that apply to your life? How does that apply to what's happening for you? You know, what are you worried about right now in your life? Where are you putting a lot of energy into the future? Or where are you giving a lot of energy to the past? And what could become available to you if you gave that up, or if you set it aside and just did the next right thing? The next right thing might be brush your teeth, drink your coffee, eat your breakfast, get to work, eat your lunch. Like, the next right thing could be as simple as moment to moment to moment. Just do the next right thing. And sometimes when I do the next right thing, it sort of silences or allows a lot of that anxiety to fade out, because I'm focused on what's happening right now. And then oftentimes, you've heard me talk about, and if you haven't, there's an episode on this: HALT, hungry, angry, lonely, tired. If I'm in a hungry, angry, lonely, tired, I'm generally not available for the next right thing. I'm too hungry or angry or lonely or tired. And then once I rest or I eat or I'm not angry anymore or whatever it is, the next right thing might be different, or it might open up a new pathway. So sometimes when I'm in that state of halt frame of mind, that is the next right thing. The next right thing is to eat or rest, or, reach out to a friend, or do something that's going to help kind of free up my mindset. And when I'm available to that, then the next right thing is just really taking care of myself. And when I take care of myself, I'm available for myself. And when I'm available for myself, the next right thing can naturally emerge. And then, maybe, a beautiful moment or an opportunity or something that I wouldn't have seen before, because I have done the self-care and I've taken care of what needs to happen right now, so that I can be listening for, my higher power, or listening for the next suggestion that comes to me that's like, oh yeah, like, if I'm not available for it because I'm too stuck in, a negativity cycle. And I'm not even saying negativity, but if I'm not present, if I'm not available, if I'm crabby, or if I'm tired, whatever. And so that's why I think it's important to get to know ourselves, to get to know what the next right thing is. Well, what is the next right thing? How would I even know? Well, we just move moment to moment. And so the yoga mat is a good place to practice. It's the place where I can practice being moment to moment to moment and doing the next right thing. So we're going to jump over to the mat, and that is the intention for the practice, is do the next right thing. And we're going to keep the practice simple. We're going to run through some sun salutations with variation. And at a certain point, I'm going to teach you a few things, and then I'm going to ask you to choose the next right thing. And I don't want you to think about it. I want you to just be in the moment and do the next right thing, even if it's just the thing that comes to mind. If I gave you 3 choices and you can only remember one of the choices, then that's the next right thing. Just do the next right thing without overthinking it or overanalyzing it, or, oh, did I do it wrong? Like, just get in the practice of doing the next right thing. So we're going to go do a little practice, and we're going to try on and embody what it could look like to do the next right thing. So meet me over on the mat. Okay, my friend, the next right thing is to practice some yoga. So we'll do that together. And as I said, I'm going to give you some choices, and I just want you to choose the next right thing without overthinking. And so here we go. Let's begin together in child's pose. Open your knees. Sink your booty back to your heels. Stretch your arms forward and rest your forehead on the floor. If it's comfortable to you, close your eyes. and begin cultivating a connection with your breath. The next right thing is to breathe. One breath in and one breath out. Take 2 more big breaths. And 1 more. Shift forward to all fours. Come to a tabletop position. Begin to move through some rounds of cat-cow. Drop your belly, lift your chin and your chest, look up at the ceiling. And then round your back for cat pose, tuck your chin to your chest. And now continue to move through some rounds of cat-cow with the invitation to do the next right thing. And that might look like lingering in one pose or the other. It might look like moving from side to side, circling your neck and your tailbone. There are just so many different ways that you can express yourself in the pose. And so you have my invitation to just do the next right thing. Moment to moment, point to point. Not so much worried about how it looks, but how it feels. What is your body calling for? And how can you respond? Take a few more rounds. And keep doing the next right thing. And then meet me in downward facing dog. Lift your tailbone to the sky. Start by swimming around in your down dog a little bit. Pedal your legs. Shift your weight. Find your way into the pose by just doing the next right thing. Notice where your hands go, your feet go. Set your eyes to one point. Take a big breath in and out. Pick up your heels, bend your knees, look forward, step to the top of your mat. Halfway lift, take a full inhale. Fold forward into ragdoll. Catch your elbows, take your feet hip width apart or wider, and let the crown of your head hang towards the floor. And take a little movement from side to side. Hang heavy. Do the next right thing. The next right movement. The next breath. Release your elbows. Put your hands on your hips. Press down, stand up. Reach your arms up over your head. Take a big breath in. And pull your palms to touch at the center of your chest. Feel the earth beneath your feet. Lift all of your toes and stretch them out. and be right here in this moment. Reach your arms up overhead, high mountain pose. Fill your lungs with air. Bow forward with your exhaled breath. Bring your hands to the floor and bow your head. Halfway lift, put your palms on your shins, lengthen your spine. The crown of your head reaches forward. Take a big inhale. Downward facing dog. Plant your hands and go straight back. Nothing extra. The next right thing is just being in the pose. Set your eyes. Find your breath. Pick your heels up. Bend your knees. Look forward. Step to the top of your mat. Halfway lift, inhale. Forward fold, exhale. High mountain pose, inhale, reach up. And fold forward, exhale. Halfway lift, big breath in. Come to all fours and take a round of cat-cow. Push the floor away, round your back. Lift your chin and your chest, cow pose. Downward facing dog with your exhale. Big breath in. And out. Pick up your heels, bend your knees, look forward, step to the top of your mat. Halfway lift, inhale. Forward fold, exhale. High mountain pose, big breath in. Forward fold, exhale. Halfway lift, lengthen your spine. Come down to your knees. We'll take camel pose next. Put your hands on your hips. Take a big breath in to lift your chest up. Exhale your hips forward and open your heart up to the ceiling. Look up at the ceiling. Take a big breath in and out. Inhale back up to neutral. Plant your hands, downward facing dog. We've just gone through 3 options. Step back to down dog, cat, cow, and camel. On the next round, you choose the next right thing. One of those 3 options, or if there's something else, you can do that next right thing. Pick up your heels, bend your knees, look forward, step to the top. Halfway lift, inhale. Forward fold, exhale. High mountain pose, reach up, look up. Bow forward, exhale. Halfway lift, take a full breath in. Either down dog, cat, cow, or camel, you choose. Do the next right thing. Make your way to downward facing dog. All right, how did you do? Did you pick one? That's all you have to do. Just pick one. Don't overthink it. Don't overanalyze. Just do the next right thing. We'll do it again. Pick up your heels. Bend your knees. Look forward. Step to the top. Halfway lift. Inhale. Forward fold. Stand up tall. High mountain pose. Big breath. Bow forward. Exhale. Halfway lift. Fill your lungs. Do the next right thing. Down dog, cat, cow, camel. You choose. Move your body with your breath. And meet me back in downward facing dog. Big breath in and out. We'll do it one more time. Pick up your heels, bend your knees, look forward, step to the top of your mat. Halfway lift, inhale. Forward fold, exhale. High mountain pose, breathe in, reach up. Bow forward, exhale. Halfway lift, take a full breath in. Do the next right thing. Down dog, cat, cow, or camel, you choose. And whatever you choose, meet me back in downward facing dog. Take a big breath in and out. Come down to your knees and then make your way to your booty. Come to lie down on your back. Either choose bridge pose or wheel pose. If that's something that you like to do, you have an opportunity to try it. Otherwise, you can come with me into bridge pose. Ground your feet, lift your hips up, and interlace your hands underneath your body. If you're in wheel pose, plant your hands and your feet on the mat and lift your heart up to the sky. Only do the next right thing that your body and your breath are prepared to manage. We're here for 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Slowly lower down. Supine butterfly. Bring the soles of your feet to touch. Let your knees fall open and place your hands on your belly. Find your breath. Happy baby. Reach for the pinky toe edges of your feet. And if that is not the next right thing, then you can reach for your shins or your knees or something closer to your body. Do the next right thing for your body. And just take a little bit of hip opening here. Some movement is nice if that's the next right thing. Or be still. Put your feet on the floor and slide your right leg forward and then your left leg forward. Lift your shoulders up and slide them under your body. We'll take a really short shavasana. Close your eyes. Notice your body lying on the floor. Simple and still. Right now, the next right thing is to rest. Take a long, full, deep breath in. And empty it out. Wiggle your fingers and your toes. And circle your ankles and your wrists. And then take a big full body stretch from fingers to toes. Pull your knees to your chest. Roll over to a comfortable side. And then gently make your way up to a seat. Bring your palms to touch at the center of your chest. And just take this moment to notice how you feel. You don't have to call it anything or name it. Just notice. Pull your thumbs to the center of your forehead and gently bow your head towards your heart. In honor of each one of us and this practice we share, I bow to you, dear friend, and say namaste. Thank you so much for joining me for this episode of the Luminous Recovery Yoga podcast. As I said, there's a link in the description if you want to join me for a Yoga of 12-Step Recovery class. It would be awesome to share that space with you and to see you on the mat. Enjoy your day, enjoy your week, and I'll see you next time. Thank you for listening to the Luminous Recovery Yoga podcast. If you'd like to support the show, please consider joining my Patreon or leaving a comment and review if you're listening on Apple Podcasts or YouTube.